Let the meltdown begin. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing. We've got a solid show lined up for you this evening. As Joey Odessa is going to join us from Costa Rica. We're going to crunch some numbers. We've got a UFC doubleheader on Saturday, and Joey's also working on some numbers for MFC 41, and it's a good thing because we got Mark Pavelich going to join us in a second as well. So we pick up the pieces following UFC, what was it, 178 in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's Conor McGregor's world. We're all just living in it. Conor McGregor lives up to the hype and disposes of Dustin Poirier pretty quickly. Although he just grazed him. Some people are saying Poirier took a fall, and the UFC just wants victories with Conor McGregor so they can make money in Europe, so they pay it off Dustin Poirier. That's good talk in a bar, but it's crazy talk. Poirier didn't take a dive. He got hit behind the ear, and Conor McGregor cashes another ticket. Dominic Cruz comes back, and Dominic Cruz doesn't just come back. He comes back and freaking killed Mizugaki. I don't know if Dominic Cruz has ever looked that good before, and I was one of the people saying, this guy shouldn't get an instant title shot. You're off for 3 years. You're not the champ anymore, man. You know, having to fight and defend the belt is part of being the champion, in my opinion. I don't think any champ should go more than 1 year without defending the belt, but that's my opinion. Cruz comes back, absolutely freaking smashes it. Demetrius Johnson is so damn good, he's starting to bore people. We pick up the pieces, followed a pretty quality card, and some great fights across the board. We had a great fight card in Japan. Got a great fight card in Edmonton this week. And for all you fantasy fans out there that have been playing our counter move UFC free rolls, we got some great news. Brian Knapp and the boys over at countermove.com are working on some MFC fantasy MMA. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. MFC himself, Mark Pavelich. Mark, it's always a pleasure, my man. How you doing?
I tell you, Gabe, but it sounds like I'm bragging all the time, so I'll just say I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing great. I know you're doing great. Life is good. You're getting ready for another big card. You got a super fight on the card. You guys got a great concept. You're giving rings to the champs right now. Things are going well for MFC, aren't they?
Yes, sir, they are, and it's a progression of 15 years and staying in the game and redefining what the word grind means to everybody. We just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and I never get bored of doing it. And coming up October 3rd, this Friday night, people are going to see once again what we do. And people don't come here to lay and pray. People don't come here to grind out a win. People come here to throw it down, man. It's like borderline. It almost surfs the line of it's not even it's MMA, but it's MMA with a twist because guys come here to smash, and we're notorious for that. And I never get tired of watching it.
Yeah, it reminds me, it's old school. It's the way MMA is supposed to be. There's a lot of fighters nowadays, maybe because it's the money, maybe it's because they're not really fighters, they were wrestlers, or they're just sort of there, and they're not really fully embraced it. Your guys are just coming to throw down, and you got some guys coming to throw down here. So tell us about the main event here, Campbell and Edwards, and a couple other things I want to throw at you as well.
Everybody knows game. Marcus Edwards is probably the best prospect in the world right now that's not in the UFC, and then Shane Campbell is probably going to disagree with that statement, and he comes from K1, and what he's been doing in the MFC is just basically putting on highlight reels, knocking guys out with jab liver kicks, with kicks, and it's crazy what he does, and he really doesn't have any respect for Marcus Edwards, and Marcus Edwards doesn't have any respect for him. I'm like, listen, this is perfect. Good, you don't like each other. Good, we're not going to sing Kumbaya. Good, we're not going to shake hands. Who wants to see that? Get out there and do what you're supposed to do, knock each other's heads off. That's what people in Edmonton pay to watch. Listen, that's why I fell in love with the sport to begin with. I want to see that. I want to see someone's brain get splattered, across the ring, and then get up and, hopefully live another day to fight. But tune in, everybody. It's going to happen this Friday night. I guarantee it.
You mentioned Marcus Edwards, one of your hottest prospects. How good is the local kid? And I guess this is a step up when you're fighting Diamond Healy, a guy that's been around, a real gatekeeper type guy that's, veteran, obviously twin brother of our boy Bam Bam. How good is Andrew Konda? It seems like he's got something special going right now. He's won 4 fights in a row. How good is this kid? I'm looking forward to seeing this fight.
He's unbelievable. He's the technician of technicians. Most people don't realize that, he's probably one of the best BJJ players in the country for MMA. I mean, this guy, he loves boxing, he loves wrestling, and then if you actually are dumb enough to take him down on the ground, you're going to find out why they named him the Anaconda. And he's extremely intelligent. He's my version of a better-looking, more intelligent Conor McGregor. That's what he is.
Yeah, you can see the kid is oozing personality. Andrew McInnes says he's going to be a fireman, local fireman, won 4 fights in a row. And he does have some sort of it factor, and he is just kicking ass. My apologies, Mark. I wish we had more time on the program, but we don't. But I got to ask you, what's the deal with you and Ed Soros? You guys the co-main event on Friday night? You and Ed throwing it down?
That's what happens when people like Ed. He's been a glorified pimp all his whole entire life, managing fighters. We've always had a great relationship, but now he's into the promoting side of the business, and he's found out that he's in the shallow end and I'm in the deep end. And, he calls into my interviews to try to sabotage them, but he realizes that he should continue on being what he is, as a glorified pimp, and that's all he is. And for him to, kind of venture into what I do, he's starting to realize that he's out of his depth, and he actually calls in my interviews now to try to get involved, because nobody really wants to interview him, because if you have a problem sleeping, just listen to an Ed Soros interview. You'll be sleeping in 5 minutes. I mean, it's that simple.
Are we ever going to see MFC and RFA throw it down?
Why would I, Gabe? Why would I bring him validity? He's got enough validity just by attaching his name to mine in the promotion business. And, like I said, only time people bring it up now, and I like Ed, I really do, but it's borderline making fun of, him, in our industry. Like I said, he's great at being a manager for fighters, but, what he's doing with his organization, and it's Chop Shop MMA. I mean, it's basically a quarter step up from King of the Cage. I mean, that's where he's at. I mean, if you're doing that, that's fantastic. We need those type of organizations out there to kind of filter into the Maximum Fighting Championship, the UFC, and et cetera,
Mark Pavelich with us. Mark, I owe you a couple of more minutes next time. Always a pleasure. Best of luck with the card this Friday night, October the 3rd in Edmonton, Alberta.
Thanks for having me on, Gabe.
There's Mark Pavelich with us. We'll take a quick break and come back with Joey Odessa from Costa Rica.